Hi everyone, I'm Aurora from Susan's family. Today, I'll show you a rainbow drawstring bag, the cute little rabbit design. This bag consists of the main part, the strap and drawstring, and also decorations. We will crochet each part in sequence and then assemble them together. Let's first learn how to crochet the main part. The main part is divided into part 1 and part 2, the edging and the bag bottom. The main part is crocheted as a whole from left to right. After completing it, sew together the beginning chain and the last row, then crochet the edging on top of it. After that, make the bag bottom and sew it to the inside. Let's first learn part 1 of the main part. According to the stitch pattern changes, here we divide part 1 into the non-increase section and the increase section. The stitches used include chain, single crochet, double crochet, and treble crochet. For convenience in watching, here I will demonstrate using yarn in other colors. For specific yarn color schemes and hook sizes, refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Pick up the corresponding yarn. Leave a tail of about 50 centimeters, which will be used for sewing later. Make a loose knot with the yarn tail. Then start with a chain. Pay attention to making the chain slightly looser. Since part 1 is divided into 2 areas, when crocheting the foundation chain here, use a stitch marker to mark the first and last stitch of the increase section. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a paperclip or safety pin instead. Continue crocheting the rest of the foundation chain. This is what the sample looks like after completing the foundation chain. The number of stitches is relatively small. Refer to the chart for the exact number of stitches. After completing the foundation chain, crochet one more chain to secure it. Tighten it, then leave a yarn tail and fasten off. That completes the foundation chain. Now let's move on to the first row. You will need to switch colors for this row. Grab the required yarn, leave a yarn tail and make a slip knot. Leave the yarn tail a bit longer. It will be more convenient for weaving in the ends later. Locate the first stitch of the foundation chain. Pick up the back loop of the chain. Draw the yarn through. This completes joining the yarn. Now make 3 chains as the beginning chain. These will serve as the beginning chain for double crochets. Make sure it corresponds to the stitch where you joined the yarn below. Then work 1 chain as a space interval. Similarly, match it with 1 foundation chain. Work 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Here, pick up the back loop of the chain to crochet. Then work 1 chain as an interval. Skip 1 stitch. Work 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Take a look. Consider 1 double crochet and 1 chain as a mesh pattern. Match it with 2 stitches below. Repeat crocheting the mesh pattern. First, finish the non-increase section on one side. After completing it, move on to the left increase section. Start by working 3 consecutive double crochets in the first stitch. Add 1 chain after each double crochet as an interval. Consider these 6 stitches as an increasing pattern. Match it with 2 stitches below. Then skip 1 chain on the left. Work a group of increasing stitches in the next stitch. Skip this stitch on the next stitch, which is the last chain of the increasing section. Crochet a group of increasing stitches. This completes the increase section. The final chain corresponds to 1 chain from the non-increase section. Skip this stitch. Continue on the left following the mesh pattern method. Finish crocheting the remaining foundation chain part. After completing, crochet 1 chain to secure. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. This completes the first row. You can move the stitch marker that separates sections to the current row. This will make it more convenient for crocheting later. It's the first stitch of the first increase pattern. The last double crochet of the third increase pattern. We'll consider the completed first row as the right side of the fabric. Move on to crochet the second row. Grab the yarn in the beginning chain color during the main part crocheting. For all even numbered rows, use the beginning chain color yarn. Flip the fabric to the wrong side. Join the yarn at the last stitch of the previous row. Make 1 beginning chain. This serves as the turning chain for single crochet. It does not count as a stitch. Continue by working 1 single crochet in the joining spot. After completing, the left side will have a chain. In the corresponding beginning chain of this stitch, work 1 treble crochet. Note that because it overlaps with the first row, you need to differentiate between the right and wrong sides. Odd numbered rows are considered the right side, while even numbered rows are crocheted on the wrong side. Currently, this is the wrong side of the fabric. So after picking up the chain with the hook, bring it to the surface of the fabric and work this stitch. The method for treble crochet is: wrap the yarn around the hook twice, pick up the front loop of the chain or any strand. Bring the hook to the surface. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull the yarn through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this step 3 times. That's how you complete a treble crochet. Now, work 1 single crochet on the left stitch. On the corresponding foundation chain below the left chain, work 1 treble crochet, yarn over twice. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this step 3 times. That completes 1 treble crochet. Take a look. Here we alternate between single crochets and treble crochets. Follow this method. First, finish crocheting the non-increase section on one side. Now you've reached the corresponding position. On the left is the increase section. Here, you increase in the increasing pattern from the previous row. Start with one single crochet. Pay attention to moving the stitch marker. Then, the corresponding position for the left chain is the place where we worked a double crochet. After inserting the hook at this position, below this chain, come out through the gap between 2 double crochets. Crochet 1 treble crochet. Continue with 1 single crochet. Then it's this insertion position again, below the left chain. Come out through the gap between 2 double crochets. Crochet 1 treble crochet. Crochet another single crochet. Take a look. When you encounter the increase pattern from the previous row, that is, the insertion position of this row, overlaps with the insertion position of the first row, you need to come out through the corresponding gap between chains, and crochet a treble crochet. Continue crocheting downward like this. That is, crochet 1 treble crochet at the starting point. One single crochet. On the left side, there's the increase pattern from the previous row again. At the double crochet insertion position, crochet 1 treble crochet. 1 single crochet. Continue alternating between treble crochets and single crochets. After completing the increasing section, you can check the stitch count. After confirming the stitch count, continue crocheting the non-increase section. The method for this part is identical to the non-increase section at the beginning. Refer to the previous demonstration. Follow the chart to complete this row. The final turning chain position is on the third stitch counted from the bottom upward. Pick up the 2 strands of the chain. Crochet 1 single crochet. Then deal with the yarn tail. That concludes the second row. Now measure the height from the middle of the increasing section to the other end. Add 3 centimeters to get the total height of the bag. Next, let's crochet the third row. Flip the piece to the right side. Grab the corresponding yarn. Join the yarn on the last stitch of the previous row. Make 3 chains as beginning chain. Crochet 1 chain. Skip 1 stitch. Start crocheting the mesh pattern on the left single crochet stitch. Continue all the way down the non-increase section. After completing it, crochet 3 groups of the mesh pattern. Then crochet 3 groups of increasing patterns, and 3 groups of mesh patterns. Remember to skip 1 stitch between each pattern. This completes the increase section. The final chain corresponds to 1 stitch in the non-increase area. Continue crocheting the mesh pattern. Finish crocheting the remaining part. After completing, secure the yarn tails. That concludes the 3rd row. Move on to the 4th row. Flip the fabric to the wrong side and join the yarn. This row is almost identical to the 2nd row in terms of crochet method. Pay attention to increasing stitches in the middle part of the increase section. Make 1 beginning chain. Then alternate between single crochets and treble crochets. Mindful that the treble crochet should be worked into the treble crochet from the 2nd row. That is, hook it out on the wrong side. After reaching the corresponding position, continue following the pattern. Work until you reach the increase pattern of the previous row. Note: exit through the gap and crochet a treble crochet. Continue to refer to the chart and finish crocheting the increase pattern section. After completing it, alternate crocheting single crochets and treble crochets. Finish crocheting this row. That concludes the 4th row. The following 5th and 6th rows have crochet methods similar to the 3rd and 4th rows. Please note: there is a stitch count adjustment for the increase position in the 5th row. Make sure to follow the chart while crocheting. There are no increases in the 6th row. That concludes part 1. Next, let's move on to part 2. This continues crocheting from part 1. The new stitch method used here is DC2 tog, TR2 tog, DC3 tog and TR3 tog. The first 20 rows are all crocheted evenly. This is identical to the no increase section in part 1. First, refer to the chart and finish crocheting this part. Here is the completed sample. Before moving on to the next row, mark the beginning and ending stitches of the decreasing section. I've already marked them in advance here. Now let's crochet row 21. First, refer to the chart and finish crocheting the no decrease section. After completing that, work 7 groups of mesh patterns. Once done, skip the corresponding chains. This means skipping over the first and third stitches on the left side, essentially jumping over the treble crochet stitches. Then work a DC2 tog together on the single crochet stitches. The method for this stitch is, first, work 2 unclosed double crochets. Yarn over and insert the hook into the stitch. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again, and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. That completes 1 unclosed double crochet. Work another stitch. Then yarn over and draw through all the remaining loops on the hook at once. That completes the DC2 tog. Now, crochet 1 chain. That completes 1 DC2 tog and 1 chain. Work 2 more groups of a DC2 tog and a chain. Pay attention, the DC2 tog should be worked on the first and third stitches from the left side. After completing, continue with the mesh pattern. Finish this row once done. That concludes row 21. Move on to row 22 now. Start by alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Keep working until just before the previous row's DC2 tog. Now you've reached the corresponding position. Start with 1 single crochet into the DC2 tog. Then pick up the stitch below the gap of the DC2 tog. And the third stitch on the left side, which is the stitch right next to the left of the DC2 tog. Work 1 TR2 tog with these stitches together. The method for this stitch is, first, work 2 unclosed treble crochets. Yarn over twice. Hook the yarn out. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat 2 times. The unclosed treble crochet is now finished. Work 1 more stitch. Yarn over twice and draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this 2 times. After completing, yarn over and pull through all loops on the hook once. The TR2 tog is now done. Then work 2 more groups of 1 single crochet and 1 TR2 tog. Pay attention to the stitch placement for the TR2 tog. It's the stitch below the gap of the DC2 tog from the row above, and work into the third stitch from the left. After finishing, continue alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Keep going all the way down to finish this row. Now we have completed row 22. Next, let's move on to row 23. Start with the mesh pattern. Continue until just before the TR2 tog in the row above. There are 5 stitches remaining. You should now be at the corresponding position. Next, work a DC3 tog. That is, start with 3 unclosed double crochets. Here, work into the 1st, 3rd, and 5th stitches on the left. This means skipping the treble crochet. Work into the single crochet stitches. After finishing, yarn over and draw through all loops. The DC3 tog is now complete. Then work 1 chain. After that, work 2 more groups of DC3 tog and 1 chain. Pay attention to the insertion point for the DC3 tog. After finishing, continue with the mesh pattern. Keep going until you finish this row. That concludes row 23. Now move on to row 24. Start by alternating single crochets and treble crochets. Continue until you reach the DC3 tog from the previous row. Now my sample should be at the corresponding position. First, work 1 single crochet, then, into the DC3 tog. Work another single crochet. In the gap below, work into the stitch at the bottom, and the 5th stitch from the left side, which is the stitch on the left of the DC3 tog. Work a TR3 tog through these stitches. The method for this stitch is, first, work 3 unclosed treble crochets. Then yarn over and draw through all loops. That completes the TR3 tog. Next, work 2 groups of single crochet and TR3 tog. Pay attention to the insertion point for the TR3 tog. After completing the stitch, continue alternating between single crochet and treble crochet. Work all the way down to finish this row. That concludes row 24 at this point. For rows 25 to 26, the method is similar to rows 23 to 24. You will decrease in the middle decrease section. Refer to the chart for the exact position and stitch pattern. That completes part 2. Remember, after finishing the last row, leave a 50 cm tail end. This will be used for sewing later. Next, we'll crochet the edging. Before crocheting the edging, sew together the sides of the main part first. This is the completed sample. Let's start with sewing the foundation chain. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. After aligning the beginning and ending of the chain, use the whip stitch method to sew together the corresponding chains. The whip stitch method means the needle always enters from front to back. Pay attention to align the fabrics as much as possible while sewing. Try to make the spacing between stitches as small as possible. This will make the seam more tight. After sewing, weave in the ends and cut the yarn. That's how you finish sewing the beginning chain. Do the same for the last row. Align it, and then pick up the stitches using the whip stitch method. Refer to the previous demonstration to complete the sewing. After finishing all the sewing, let's deal with the yarn tails. First, turn the main part to the wrong side. Then use a hook to pick up stitches on the wrong side of the fabric to weave in the ends. Try to pick up line segments vertically on the surface for weaving in the ends. This way, there won't be any visible stitches on the right side. Like this, weave in all the tails on the wrong side. After all the tails are settled, start crocheting the edging. I'll continue demonstrating with this sample. Start at the beginning chain seam. Pick any 2 strands to join the yarn. Make 1 beginning chain. Work 1 single crochet into the joining spot. Then look at the left side. It's a double crochet edge and a single crochet edge. Pick up the entire double crochet edge and work 2 single crochets. Work 1 single crochet on the single crochet edge. If you can't find the position, you can pick up the edge or any 2 strands to crochet. Continue picking up the double crochet edge and work 2 single crochets. Work 1 single crochet on the single crochet edge. Notice here that 8 single crochets are worked within 6 rows. Repeat this pattern of 6 rows. Keep going all the way to the other side of the bag. Then work 1 single crochet at the joining spot. Afterward, continue crocheting according to the demonstrated pattern. Pay attention, the number of single crochets can be adjusted based on the actual situation. After finishing, lay it flat. Keep going all the way down to complete this round. After finishing, make one slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. Break the yarn and weave in the end on the wrong side. That's how you crochet the edging. Next, let's make the bag bottom. First, fold to determine the size of the bag bottom. Align the sides. Fold the bag bottom downward. The exact width can be adjusted according to your preference. This folded part will be the approximate shape of the bag bottom. Then take out the mesh board. Use a neutral pen or a pencil. Mark the required length and width on the mesh board. Then draw the curved shape at both ends. After drawing, use a large pair of scissors. Cut along the marked line. I've already cut one here. Pay attention to trimming the ends smoothly and roundly. Take the cut bag bottom. Place it at the center inside the bag. Adjust it a little. You can use a marker to secure the position of the bag bottom, then flip it to the wrong side. Take a long yarn tail in the cast-on color and thread it through a darning needle. Pick up the segments on the surface of the bag, and sew them together with the bag bottom. The gaps between stitches can be shorter. This will make the sewing tighter. Pay attention while sewing. Always pick up the line segments on the surface of the fabric for sewing. This way, the stitches won't show on the right side. Sew in a round like this until you finish one round. If you run out of yarn during sewing, tie a knot and weave in the ends. Then pick up the new yarn and continue sewing. After finishing, weave in the tail and cut the yarn. That's how you sew the bag bottom. Up to this point, the main part is completely done. Next, let's learn about the straps and drawstring. Divide into straps, drawstring and assembly. Let's start with crocheting the strap. We will start from foundation chain, and continue crocheting along the foundation chain. The new stitches used here include HDC4 puff. Now, let's sew. Use one of the yarn tails to make a slip knot and start. Here, I'll continue demonstrating with cotton yarn. Crochet 1 chain. Then work 3 more chains as the beginning chain. Then pick up the half loop of the first chain. Work a HDC4 puff. First, work 4 unclosed half double crochets. Then yarn over once, and pull through all loops on the hook. This completes one HDC4 puff. From now on, we'll refer to it as a puff stitch. Continue with the current yarn and make 1 chain. Then take the other yarn tail. Hook the yarn out. Then work 2 more chains. Then turn your work. Use the newly switched yarn. Work 1 puff stitch in the chain space from the previous row. After completing it, work 1 chain. Switch to another yarn and hook out. Then work 2 more chains. Turn your work again. Continue working 1 puff stitch in the chain space of the previous row. Let's take a look. You can see its pattern now. After completing the puff stitch, work 1 chain. Then switch colors again. All puff stitches are worked in the chain spaces. Continue using this method to complete the strap. After finishing the corresponding row numbers, check the length against the chart. If the length doesn't match, you can add a few more rows, or you can also undo a few rows. Alternatively, you can crochet to your preferred length based on your own preference. After completion, leave a yarn tail, fasten off, and weave in the ends. Also weave in the other yarn tail. Make sure to weave in the starting tail as well. Then, take another yarn. Crochet the edging along the entire round. Take the corresponding yarn. First, join the yarn at the starting point. Work 1 chain to begin. Then crochet 1 single crochet. Next, work 6 chains. After that, work 1 single crochet in the chain space of the third row. Work 6 more chains. Crochet 1 single crochet in the chain space of the 5th row. Work 6 chains again. To crochet the edging, work single crochets in the corresponding positions. Between each 2 single crochets, work 6 chains. Follow this method to complete one side. After finishing this side, you can work the topmost single crochet into the puff stitch. Alternatively, you can roughly pick up 2 strands and crochet. After completing, work 6 chains again. Then do the same for the other side. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Tighten it. Leave about a 40 cm tail and cut the yarn. Weave in the yarn tails. That's how you finish the edging. After finishing, it's time to assemble the strap. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Then alternately pass through the round beads and flower beads. Thread a total of 8 beads. The flower beads can be placed in staggered colors here. You can adjust specifically based on personal preference. This is just a sample, so there are fewer beads. After threading, sew it onto the side edge of the bag's main part. Count down about 5 double crochets from the top. There's no fixed method for this. Just make sure to sew securely. Then thread the bead back. Weave in the yarn tail into the strap. This secures one end of the strap. For the other end, take the yarn tail and thread it onto a darning needle. Weave in the yarn tail into the strap. Similarly, thread the beads. Attach them at the symmetrical position on the main part. That concludes the assembly of the bag strap. Next, we will crochet the drawstring. The drawstring is crocheted using chains. Keep crocheting until you reach the desired length. The length here, when folded in half and placed on the main part, should extend about 5 cm extra. You can adjust according to the actual situation. Here, I have already finished crocheting it. You need to prepare 2 drawstrings in total. After finishing, we will assemble the drawstring next. Thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Pass through the odd-numbered rows positions one by one. Continue all the way around the entire round. Note that the drawstring should be below the strap. The side position should also be below the strap. After threading, place both ends of the yarn tails under the strap. Then pass them together through a bead. Afterwards, tie a knot to secure it. Pull the yarn tails tight and cut them off directly. This completes the assembly of one drawstring. Next, at the symmetrical position, continue assembling the other drawstring. Pay attention, the insertion point for the drawstring should be in the same hole. On this side, the drawstring should also be underneath the strap. That concludes the explanation of how to assemble the drawstring. Next, we'll learn about decorations. It includes the head, rabbit ears, flowers, facial features, and assembly. Below, we'll first learn the crochet method for the head. The head starts with a chain. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. The new stitches used include V for SC2 in 1, W for SC3 in 1, A for SC2 tog, T for HDC, and K for skip. Before we start crocheting, let's first take a look at the chart. The chart uses our plus number to indicate the round number. The stitch instructions column shows the stitch methods and any increases or decreases needed for the current round. The total stitches column indicates the total number of stitches for the current row. First, cast on. Here, the cast on is 18ch, which means you need to crochet 18 chains first. After finishing, move on to round 1. Dao means start crocheting from the second to last chain. Crochet 1 SC2 in 1, which means crocheting 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Pay attention to hook into the top loop of the chains when crocheting. After completing that, continue picking up the top loops and crochet 15 single crochets. After completing, there will be 1 stitch remaining. Continue with 1 single crochet and SC3 in 1, which means crocheting 3 single crochets in the same stitch. After finishing, rotate the piece. On the left side, in the remaining 2 strands of the chains, work evenly 16 single crochets. While crocheting, weave in the yarn tail. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. Make sure to tighten it. The slip stitch is not indicated in the chart. In reality, when crocheting in rounds, you always finish by joining with a slip stitch and pull tight. At this point, the first round is complete. Move on to round 2. Work 1 chain as the beginning chain for single crochet. This beginning chain is not marked in the chart. In reality, when crocheting in rounds, you always start with a beginning chain. The beginning chain for single crochet does not count as a stitch, then work 2 SC2 in 1. After finishing, continue to follow the stitch pattern in the chart and complete this round. While crocheting, pay attention, and check the number of stitches as you go. Once done, join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Pull tight. Be sure to remember, at the end of each round, you need to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. After completing the slip stitch, pull tight. At this point, the second round is complete. Now move on to the third round. First, work 1 chain as the beginning chain for the single crochet. The beginning chain doesn't count as 1 stitch. I'll emphasize again, when crocheting in rounds, you always need to start with a beginning chain. You can slightly tighten it. I won't repeat this later. Then work the stitches in the parentheses. Parentheses indicate a group. Asterisk and number indicates the number of times to repeat the pattern. Here, crochet 1 single crochet and 1 SC2 in 1. That completes the stitches inside the parentheses. You need to do this 2 times total. Do it one more time. Continue with 15 single crochets. Then repeat the group in the parentheses 3 times. After completing that, refer to the chart and finish the round. Join with a slip stitch when finished. That completes the third round. For the following rounds from 4 to 9, all the stitch methods used have been demonstrated earlier. The stitch instructions mean something similar to before. Just follow the stitch order in the chart and crochet accordingly. After completing it, the fabric may curl naturally. Flip it so that the right side is facing out. Let's take a look starting from the beginning chain position. The raised texture on the right side indicates 1 round. When counting rounds, simply count these raised textures. While crocheting, don't forget the beginning chain and slip stitches. Moving forward, use the method you've learned before, and refer to the chart to complete this section. Next, we'll continue with round 10. I'll demonstrate using this sample. First, make 1 beginning chain, then crochet 1 single crochet. After completing, crochet 1 SC2 tog. Let's take a look first. The stitch looks like these 2 strands of yarn. The strand closer to you is the front loop. The other one is the back loop. First, hook into the front loop of the left single crochet stitch. Then, insert it into the front loop of the adjacent single crochet stitch. Yarn over and draw through the first 2 loops. There will be 2 loops remaining on the hook. Yarn over again, and pull through. The SC2 tog is completed. The braid on the upper right is the resulting stitch. This method of picking up only the front loops to work the decrease is called an invisible decrease. When using this method for crocheting, the gaps between stitches are relatively small. The fabric looks more delicate overall. Crochet another single crochet. 1 SC2 tog. The hook goes through the front loops of the 2 adjacent stitches on the left. Draw the yarn through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and draw through the remaining loops once. The SC2 tog is completed. Continue to refer to the pattern to finish the remaining part. End with a slip stitch. That concludes the 10th round. Move on to the 11th round. Make 1 beginning chain. Crochet 8 single crochets. Work 16 half double crochets. From the remaining part of this row, all the way to the 15th round, there are no new stitch patterns introduced. Continue crocheting in rounds while referring to the chart. Please complete it. Then move on to the 16th round. Start with 1 chain and crochet according to the chart until there is 1 stitch left in this round. Here, the sample has reached the corresponding position. K means skip 1 stitch. So skip this stitch. Directly work a slip stitch into the first stitch. This completes the 16th round. Leave a 50 cm yarn tail for later use. That finishes the head. Now let's move on to crocheting the rabbit's ears. The rabbit's ears consist of the outer ear and inner ear. The new stitch method used here is the FE for DC 2-in-1. Now, let's show. First, we'll crochet the outer ear. Start with a slip knot. Since this is a sample, I'm using fewer stitches. Then crochet round 1. Start crocheting from the second to last stitch. Now you've reached the corresponding position. You've encountered square brackets. Square brackets mean to crochet stitches into the same position. Here, you'll crochet 7 double crochets. That completes the stitches in the brackets. Continue and refer to the pattern to finish this round. Now, round 1 is complete. Move on to crochet round 2. First, crochet up to the position before FV while following the chart. Now you've reached the corresponding position. FV stands for DC 2-in-1. It means crocheting 2 double crochets into the same stitch. That completes 1 DC 2-in-1. Here, you need to complete a total of 7 DC 2-in-1. After finishing, continue referring to the pattern to complete this round. Once this round is finished, leave a 30 cm yarn tail for sewing. That concludes the outer ear. The method for the inner ear is the same as the first round of the outer ear. After completing it, leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Then weave in the ends on the wrong side. That completes the rabbit ears. Follow the demonstration and refer to the pattern chart. Crochet the required number of rabbit ears. Next, let's move on to crocheting the flowers. Start by making 2 chains. Then, on the second to last stitch, crochet 5 single crochets. Next, work a slip stitch into the first stitch. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. The first round is complete. Continue with the second round. Join the yarn at the slip stitch position from the previous round. Now let's crochet this round. Start by working 2 chains. Then, in the first stitch, work 1 DC 2 in 1. Follow with 2 chains and 1 slip stitch. This completes 1 group in the brackets. Continue with 1 group in the parentheses. Work a slip stitch on the left side of the stitch. Chain 2. Work 1 DC 2 in 1. Follow with 2 chains and 1 slip stitch. All these stitches are worked into the same stitch. This completes 1 group in the parentheses. Continue crocheting the remaining 3 groups. After finishing the last group, work 1 slip stitch into the first stitch of the previous round. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Then weave in the ends on the wrong side. This completes 1 flower. Refer to the demonstration and chart to crochet the required number of flowers. Next, we'll make the eyes. Chain 5. Slip stitch into the first chain to chart a ring. Pull tight. Leave a yarn tail longer than 20 centimeters and fasten off. Simply pull out the yarn tail. This completes 1 eye. Crochet another identical eye. For the nose, chain 2. Then secure with a chain. Leave a yarn tail longer than 20 centimeters and fasten off. This completes the nose. Up to this point, the crocheting of the decorative elements is done. Next, we will assemble the pieces. Take the head section, stuff the inside with scrap yarn. Don't overstuff the head here. Just make sure it has some thickness. After completing, thread the end of the yarn onto a darning needle. Fold the opening in half. Then sew it together with a whip stitch. Here you need to pick up the front loop of the stitches, that is, the half of the stitch closer to you for sewing. If the yarn tail isn't positioned on the side, transition it to the right position first. Then start sewing. Continue sewing like this until the entire opening is closed. When you have a small gap left, Check if the stuffing is firmly packed. You can add a bit more stuffing if needed. After finishing the seam, weave in the tail inside. If the starting position of your sewing has a slight bump, you can sew over it slightly here. This will make it look rounder and smoother. That's how you sew the head. Next, make the collar. Take a long yarn tail with 4 strands. Pull out one strand and thread it through a thin needle. I've already prepared this part. Tie off at the end to secure it in place. Different versions may use different materials for the collar. Grab the ribbon or lace if you're using those. Here, I'll demonstrate with a sample. The method for making the collar is identical. If you're using a ribbon, use a lighter to melt the edges on both ends. This prevents it from fraying. Be mindful of safety while doing this. Then pinch pleats like this. Make one pleat every 1.5 centimeters or so. As you pinch the pleats, sew one side at the same time. Since you'll need to sew it to the head later, you can do a rough stitch for now. Make sure the direction of the pleat stays consistent. The collar should be slightly narrower than the head. You can adjust the length according to your personal preference. Cut off any excess ribbon. Next, take the secured ribbon and sew it onto the head. Make sure the beginning stitch of the head is facing down. Place the ribbon slightly toward the back at the bottom position. Let's double check here. The foundation chain should be positioned at the back. Then start sewing. You can use any method to secure it. Just make sure the sewing is sturdy. After finishing, handle the yarn tails. That's how you assemble the collar. Next, let's assemble the facial features. We'll start with the nose. Find the exact middle of the 6th round. You can mark it first if needed. Then take the nose piece. Apply a little glue on the wrong side. If it's not convenient to apply the glue directly, you can use a sewing needle dipped in glue to apply it. Then stick it onto the marked position. Press for a while to secure it in place. Next, thread the yarn tail onto a darning needle. Insert the needle closely from the head right next to the nose. Exit at the circle directly below the nose. Then insert it back into the spot right underneath the nose. Bring the other yarn tail inside as well. Finally, weave in the ends and fasten off the yarn. This will secure the nose in place. Next, take out the 2 eyes. Place them on the round above the nose. You can adjust their positions according to your preference. Be mindful to keep the eyes symmetrical. After marking the positions, glue them down securely. Thread the reserved yarn tail onto a darning needle. Sew a line segment diagonally upward and outward for the eye corners. This will serve as the eye corner. Then, add a position 2 circles apart directly above the eyes. Sew a line segment to create the eyebrows. The position of the eyebrows can also be adjusted based on personal preference. Here, sew 2 lines for the eyebrow. Then, secure the yarn and cut the thread. Also, weave in the starting tail of the yarn. This will secure one eye and its corresponding eyebrow in place. Following this method, secure the other eye and eyebrow as well. Continue by securing the hairstyle. Take a 20 centimeters length of yarn. Tie the yarn tail into a knot. Exit close to the middle left position of the top of the head. Then dip the sewing needle into some glue. Apply glue to the area where the hairstyle will be attached. Apply glue while securing the line segments in place. Be mindful to create 2 circles in the middle. Refer to the actual project for the specific hairstyle shape. You can also adjust according to your preference. After gluing, thread the remaining yarn tail onto a darning needle. Sew 2 vertical lines on the side. This is part of the hairstyle. After sewing, secure the yarn tails. This will firmly fix the hairstyle in place. Finally, use the yarn from the head section. Cut a piece of thread. Thread it through a needle. Sew a line directly in the center of the eye for highlight. Do the same for the other eye. After sewing, weave in the ends. This completes the highlights on the eyes. Then take the rabbit ears. Thread a needle with the color corresponding to the outer ear. The length should be longer than the circumference of the inner ear. Then pick up the back side of the inner ear, and weave in the tail. Next, place the wrong sides of the inner and outer ears facing each other. Match up the first round. Then pick a line segment from the back side of the inner ear. Sew together with the first round of the outer ear. Sew around like this until you complete the entire round. After sewing, weave in the ends. This will secure the inner ear in place. Then grab the tail end of the outer ear. Fold the outer ear like this. Secure the bottom part. then attach it to the head. The exact position can be adjusted according to the actual project or your preference. Sew a few more stitches to secure it well, then weave in the ends and cut the yarn. That's how you assemble the rabbit ears. Next, take out the small flowers. Attach it on top of the head. This completes the assembly of the head. Next, sew the head onto the upper middle part of the bag. Pick up the strands from the back of the head and the surface of the bag to sew them together. Refer to the method used for sewing the inner ear and outer ear. After sewing, secure the yarn tails. Then take the starting yarn for the main part of the bag. Secure the leather label at the bottom right corner. Sew up both ends of the holes. Make sure everything is fixed securely. I won't demonstrate it here. If you have blush, you can apply it on both sides of the eyes at the end. Remember to apply it in small amounts and multiple layers. Avoid applying too much color. Up to this point, the assembly section is complete. This bag is now entirely finished. If you still have any unclear parts during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get support. Susan's Family, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.